I've received so many questions about DistroKid, especially with all the videos that I've done about them. But one really big question that has popped up time and time again, which I really didn't expect, is DistroKid good for selling beats? Now, in terms of the term beats or selling beats, I feel like it's a little bit of an ambiguous term because it's like, what do you mean selling beats? I mean, technically, for me being a DJ and electronic music producer, I technically sell beats. But when I ask people for more clarification, like, okay, what do you mean by selling beats? They usually mean that they're an instrumentalist. So let's say they're a hip hop producer, and what they want to do is basically make a bunch of hip hop instrumentals, put them online, and have, like, say, rappers or hip hop artists buy them to basically rap over. So basically, they create the background music, someone buys it, and they license their beats out, and then they can purchase it. So a lot of people have asked me, like, okay, Mark, I'm a hip hop artist, I'm an instrumentalist, where I just want to make beats, I just want to make instrumental, almost like freestyle beats, so to speak, for hip hop artists or other artists. Is DistroKid good for selling them? My answer, being honest, is for the most part, yes. Now, this video could get a lot more technical than you would expect, but my best advice, for the most part, yes. Now, one thing I just say to keep in mind, if let's say that is your goal, let's say your goal is to make a ton of beats, put them online, and have people buy them, and that way they use them. Keep in mind that, one, I find that this market is very oversaturated. And what I mean is that in this day and age, 10 or 20 years ago, getting a freestyle beat was kind of tricky, right? Like, I mean, if you want to buy a beat, that would make the process a lot easier. But in this day and age, a lot more people are producing their own tracks and their own records. A lot more artists, hip-hop, electronic, and more, are doing everything on their own, right? Especially with the birth of things like DistroKid and CD Baby and TuneCore, people are making their own beats, producing their own tracks, creating their own vocals, obviously, producing everything together and engineering it together, mixing and mastering, and releasing it all on their own. So one thing I just say to kind of keep in mind is, look, well, yes, there might still be a market for producing beats and, creating instrumentals for people. It is very oversaturated. So that's one thing I just want to say to keep in mind. The second thing, especially when it comes to a platform like DistroKid, is if I were you, try to get a following first. Because the best way to sell anything, right, whether you're making instrumental beats to license out or not, is just keep yourself in mind that the bigger the following you have, a lot easier it's going to be. I know a lot of people have hit me up saying, hey, Mark, my goal is to make instrumentals. I want to make beats. I want to sell them through DistroKid. So what's going to happen is people discover my beats. They hear it. They're like, oh, this is fire. And they're going to purchase it. But the truth is, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of other people are doing the exact same thing. So although, yeah, DistroKid is going to be a great platform to basically put your stuff on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and all these other sites, just keep in mind that you have to do a lot more marketing on top of that, right? DistroKid, and I've said this before in other videos, is not just going to promote new music to everybody. They're going to put them on the platforms, and they're going to put them on the shelves of those stores, so to speak, but you still have to do the marketing for people to find your actual tracks. And the last thing I want to say when it comes to is DistroKid good for selling beats or not, and this is a bit of a con or a bit of a negative aspect, is remember that most people selling beats want to license it out and then take it down. What I mean is, let's say you make a beat, you make a custom beat, you sell it to somebody, let's say you sell it for $1,000, and for $1,000, they get that beat, they have all the rights to it, and you take it down, meaning that no one else can use that beat except them. Well, keep in mind, when you release a beat or anything through DistroKid, there's a lot of technical aspects or technical stuff that comes along with taking down that track. So for me, I've had some tracks, for example, that I uploaded through DistroKid, and later on, I'm like, you know what? And again, we've all been there. I'm like, you know what? This track, I don't know if it's exactly the best thing I've ever made. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to take it down. You know what? In hindsight, this just wasn't my best work. And years later, right, especially if you do a lot of Google Magic, years later, I can still find those tracks somewhere around the internet. And in addition to this, even been sometimes where I'll release one track, take it down because I want to release it with an album, right? So I release it as a single, and then later on, I'm like, you know what? I think I actually want to release this as a EP or with an album. And even though I take that single down and upload it with the album, and even though it's re-uploaded with the album, I can still find that single lurking on the internet with that original cover picture or whatever. So keep in mind that as the internet goes, I find that a lot of times when it comes to making beats and releasing beats and everything, the way of removing it permanently off the internet is very difficult, in my opinion, if not impossible, when it comes to releasing it through something like DistroKid. And this is not necessarily DistroKid's fault, but I just kind of keep that in mind that if I was in your shoes, and let's say I want to kind of make beats for people, I'd want, like I said, try to get a big following on just the internet in general through social media, make your own tracks, right? So make beats that you have no intention of releasing. Make beats and instrumentals and records that you have no intention of by releasing. What I mean is make them in the sense that you have no intention of releasing them in terms of the rights. You just want to put them out there, right? For me, for example, I'm right now in a way better position to, like, say, produce for another artist because of my repertoire, because of my portfolio, so to speak, that's already online. And let's say if I work with a singer or a rapper or an artist or whatever, or a vocalist, I'll just use that term, it's a lot easier for me to kind of capitalize on it because they can easily listen to my other work, right? It's not like I've put all these tracks online and said, hey, if you want this beat, I can take it down and license it to you, and no one else can use it except you, because it's honestly pretty much near impossible to completely get rid of it now, especially if it's online for a while. So my overall advice when it comes to, is DistroKid good for selling beats? It really depends. I think it's good for getting a following. Also, for any independent musician, you know, regardless of your genre, DistroKid's amazing, right? But in terms of the pure, I guess, mindset or the pure goal of licensing beats out that you take down off DistroKid and license them, I don't think DistroKid is the best way to go. I think if I was in your shoes, I would probably do something like SoundCloud, or maybe even have your own site and host the tracks on your own site, so that way when you take it down, it's permanently gone.